Hello and welcome back to Sovereign Thinking. My name is Michael, and if you haven't already done so, feel free to watch parts 3 and 4 of my Law of Attraction series, as today I will be guiding you on some journaling activities based around those sections of my read-through. Of course, you don't have to watch those parts of my series to gain the benefits of doing the journal exercise, but they will certainly help you to understand why we are doing the exercises that we are doing. If you don't have a journal, then don't worry. You can still participate by using a paper or something to write on, and as well as some writing utensil like a pen or a pencil, and you can do this exercise anytime you like. Please remember to only take what vibes with you and leave what doesn't. Like I had explained in parts 3 and 4 of my read-through, I want to use this week's journaling exercise as practice to help you transmute negativity into positivity, thereby only directing your attention and energy into attracting what you do want. What we have learned from Michael Losier's book on the Law of Attraction is that this is an exercise of using contrast statements to clarify on what you do want. In my own experience, by doing this exercise, I find myself naturally transmuting my own contrast statements into clarifications on what I do want in my own head. And yes, some days are harder than others, and that's just the way life is. My point here is that you have the sovereignty to choose whether or not you want to make this into a habit. In Michael Losier's book, he does have some exercises in there already, and full disclosure, this next journal exercise borrows a lot of concepts from his book. Even though I am going through his book, I recommend picking up a copy for yourself anyways, so that you can read the entire book and do the exercises that he guides you through. Today's journal exercise just borrows some concepts from his exercise in the sections that we have read already. Let's begin. First thing that you will need to do is to turn to a new page in your journal. We're going to be doing a bit of organizing first, otherwise your journal is just going to look like a dog's breakfast. And this does come from my own experience of doing this. One way of organizing your journal for this activity is to divide your journal into 6 sections with 5 to 6 pages in each section. Essentially, you are going to be writing down things you don't want as it pertains to each section, and then you're going to rewrite that statement into something that you do want. So you are going to need a lot of writing space within each of these sections, depending on how much you want to write. The 6 sections that I want you to start with are the following. 1. Career. 2. Money and abundance. 3. Relationship with yourself. 4. Relationship with others. 5. Romantic relationships. 6. Health. If you feel called to create your own section or to add more sections to your journal for this exercise, then absolutely listen to yourself. The sections that I listed are just the most common major areas that people want to apply the Law of Attraction to. I separated career and money/abundance into separate sections because for me, I feel that what I do versus what I'm rewarded with are very different aspects of my life. Furthermore, I just may want to start calling in additional abundances outside of my everyday job, such as feeling like I have all the time in the world. I also separated relationships into separate categories because I felt that just lumping it all into one relationship category would just be too general. Again, if you want to do this exercise with more specific categories, then feel free to add those in as well. If you haven't already, you may pause the video to sort out your sections. And now we are going to move on to writing down some contrast statements. This next part may, and pardon the pun, feel like it contrasts what the Law of Attraction is all about, but a reminder here is that the purpose of today's journal exercise is to gain clarity by writing down these contrast statements and then transmuting them into statements that call in what you do want. But first you have to write down your contrast statements. When writing down these contrast statements in each of your sections, think about what you are experiencing that you don't want. Another way to think about contrast statements is that you're merely purging your negative thoughts onto paper, allowing yourself to become aware of them so that you can transmute them. Anyhow, write down your contrast statements for each of your sections. These contrast statements don't have to be long-winded. Again, you aren't being paid by the word after all. And remember to also leave enough room for the next step for when I guide you to transmuting those contrast statements. I have left an example on screen for you to reference as well if you feel that you need it. And at this time, you may pause the video for when you are ready to move on to the next step. At this time, you should have written out all of your contrast statements for each section. Reread each of these contrast statements. If you don't want to attract those things to you, then question yourself, what do you actually want? Ask this question for each of these contrast statements and write down your answer beside or under the contrast statement. Don't think too hard about what you want. Just write down what comes naturally. Again, you may pause the video at this time, as I have one last direction. Now, reread your new positive attraction statements. Did any negative words slip in any of these statements? Remember from the last journal activity that words like not or don't interfere with what you are actually trying to attract in your life. So give yourself a moment to see if some of these negative words manage to slip by. You'll likely feel very clever having caught some of these negative words. If your journal looks messy, don't worry about it. It happens to the best of us, and I myself am not the best when it comes to organizing my writings either. But if you happen to have a better way of sorting out your sections, then feel free to leave a comment below. Next week, we are going to talk about affirmations, and I think that we will also get into the third step of the law of attraction, which is all about allowing what you are calling in to manifest. Just a quick reminder, we have covered the first step, which is identifying, and we're kind of in the middle of the second step, which is just giving attention to what you do want. So that third step will likely pop its head up in one of the sections coming up this week. Speaking of which, if you would like to read the book yourself, I've left an Amazon link to the book in the description box if you wanted to pick it up. And as always, please take what vibes with you, leave what doesn't, and just take it one day at a time. Thank you for listening, and I hope you have a wonderful day.